Good morning and welcome to your new edition of Family and Community Relationships. My name is Ross, and for everyone who's new to the freemium service, good morning and welcome. Today guys, we're going to be talking about 6 things you can do to keep your family happy. Last week we talked about keeping your partner happy. This week we're going to talk about how to keep your kids happy, okay? And everybody else who's involved in your family. So let's dive straight into it. One thing I found, guys, being a teacher for 10 years is any way that you decide to communicate with a kid has a big influence on them. So you need to be mindful about how you choose to communicate with your child. So these 6 tips I'm going to give you now are from my own experience and from working with our professionals that we've got at NYP. Okay, the first thing you need to think about, guys, is trying to balance your home life and your work life, okay? So you need to be able to have that relationship where you can come home from work and switch off and then dedicate your time fully to your family. Because if you don't, it will then have an influence on your family. Now, lots of people have this attitude, guys, that I'm working really, really hard and I'm working all these long hours so I can have the money to then do the stuff with your family. Well, if all the time's been taken up, guys, working, you're never going to get to spend it with your family. So try and strike that balance between your home life and your work life. So the second point I want to talk about today, guys, is looking after yourself. So I want you to think about when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant's giving you the advice about the oxygen mask when it pops down. They always say put it on first before you help anybody else. And I want you to take that idea and apply it to your family life. I want you to look after yourself first so you can be a better service to the rest of your family. If that means you need to go out and do some exercise, if that means you need to create some time away from everything, so when you come back to the family experience, you can be of more value. Now, this doesn't mean you just use an excuse for going to the pub, okay, or you use an excuse to go to watch the football, or guys and girls. It means taking time that's genuinely going to better you as a person, so when you come back to the family, you can be a better service, okay? I know my wife and I would create time through the week for each of us to do exercise, and that helps us when we come back into the family environment, and we're of better service to each other and to the family. So I want you to really think about looking after yourself. The third area, guys, and this can sometimes be seen as a bit controversial, is to do with disciplining your children, okay? Now, I'm not talking about getting the belt out or anything like that. I'm talking about letting your children know when they've done something wrong and explaining why something's gone wrong, okay? As a teacher, guys, that's worked for 10 years, 6 years with special needs, I've worked with a variety of children who each operate differently. And one thing I found out with my kids is, especially we've got two different age kids, one's 2.5 and one's 9 months almost, and you have to approach it very, very differently. Now, our young boy, he doesn't respond very well to being shouted at, and lots of kids don't respond well to being shouted at. What you can do though is you can explain to them what's happened, okay? So we are big fans of the naughty step, okay? And we have to catch ourselves if we do get caught out shouting, because kids are very, very sort of responsive and they absorb things so quickly. So if you shout or raise your voice, they then think it's okay to shout and raise your voice. So don't be afraid to discipline your children, okay? You're there to protect them, you're there to love them. That doesn't mean you have to be their friend all the time. So my bit of advice with regards to discipline, guys, as soon as something happens, okay, and you think it's appropriate that you need to intervene, you should remove them from the situation and sit them down on a naughty step, okay? And the idea is that they sit there for 1 minute for every year that they are of age. So Bear, my little boy, will sit there for 2.5 minutes, okay? And regardless of what they do, if they get up, if they start screaming, if they start shouting, don't respond, okay? Walk them back and sit them on the steps, and then the time starts again. And when the time's up, you go back and you talk to them, okay? And you explain to them why were they sat there. Ask them the question, do you know why you're sat there? If they're able to answer, they can explain. If they don't understand, you need to explain them, okay? And then that's it, finished. You finish on good terms, okay? The punishment doesn't carry on. You don't continue to be mad at them for the rest of the night. You just carry on as normal, okay? So that if that means saying sorry or thank you or good listening, okay? You need to do that with your child and let them know that it's done now and you can go back to the good times as a family. The next point I want to talk about, guys, is setting boundaries, and this ties in quite nicely with the discipline point. And that means that the boundaries are there, guys, to keep your children safe, okay? So that means setting in habits and routines with your children, okay? Kids need to be given boundaries so they know how to sort of operate in society, how to operate at nursery or when they interact with children and adults. So it relies on you as parents and as the adult to set these boundaries, and these boundaries should be healthy and safe, okay? So it might be things like time they're allowed out, what they're allowed to watch on TV, the way they speak to people. You need to be in charge of setting those boundaries, but you need to be very mindful that they're going to be watching you. So you set boundaries and then you do something different, they're going to suddenly work out, well, hold up, why are you allowed to do something different? And kids will always try and push the boundaries. That's where the idea comes from. So make sure you set them, be realistic and be practical with your boundaries. boundaries. The next point, guys, is communication. Now, having worked in special needs, I am by no way very good at learning new languages or picking up sign language, but I find it very effective with especially my younger children now that I have my own, and the special needs kids that I worked with, that if you can learn some sign language, that actually helps with kids who can get really angry really quickly because their ears aren't working but they're still looking at you. So I use a little bit of signing, and it's very, very limited, but Bear understands pretty quickly what I'm talking about. So little things like good listening, I can do this to Bear and he'll understand what I'm saying. Even if he's crying or he's upset, I can look at him and say, is Bear going to show me good listening? And he'll know. But if I was to say to him, are you going to show me good listening, and not use my hands and sign, he's too busy crying and being upset. So try and think of different ways that you can communicate with your children. Shouting doesn't work, guys, okay? Make sure that if you need to communicate something with your child, you do it in a manner that's respectful to them, and it's in a manner that they can understand. And by that, you also need to be setting a good example around those kids. So they need to be able to see you communicating effectively with adults and with other kids, because remember, they're always listening, they're always watching, and they're always absorbing stuff in, all right? So be very, very mindful of how you communicate with your child. And the last point, guys, is just create some quality time with your family. I know as a family unit, we made sure every Saturday, regardless of what we've got going on, we box off our Saturday, we go to a lovely coffee shop in Sheffield, a great coffee shop, and they sell vegan food and it's really nice and relaxed, but we always go there in the morning and then we go to the park. Now, we do this regardless of the weather because kids don't care. And that's your advice for this week, guys. So we're going to drive through some thoughts now, some challenges, and then I'll leave you with a motivator for today. Here we go. And your thought, guys, I kind of mentioned it a little bit in the advice I gave you there, is you are your kids' greatest teacher, okay? You have the potential to have the greatest influence on them. So make sure you spend twice as much time with your children and half as much money, okay? Because they don't care. They don't care about all the superficial stuff, all right? They only care about the quality time that they have for their parents. So make sure you do that. Remember, twice as much time and half as much money. So your challenge, nice and simple, guys. I want you to go back and think about those 6 tips of advice that I gave you at the beginning of this video, and I want you to apply one every day for the next 7 days, okay? So you'll have 1 day off at the weekend. Don't worry if you forget them, guys. They're written in the email. Jot them down and let me know. Come onto the MYP page, go to Facebook, go to the website, and let me know how it's going. And now for your motivator, guys, I want you to think about it. Every single child is one caring adult away from being a success, okay? So if you've got 2 kids, you've got to double down. But remember, every single child is one caring adult away from being a success. Go make someone's life successful, guys. Go and do it. Remember, MYP, let me know how it's all going. Share these videos, guys. Jump in, share it with your family. If you want to get other people involved, get them to the website and they can sign up for this freemium service. I'm going to continue to send out content every day to help you guys maximize your potential. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow.